Thank you, ma'am.
So good evening, everyone. We are here in our third season of PG lectures, and we have started in the Viva series. Today we have a participant at Sion Medical College, and the internal examiner is Dr. Naina Poddar, ma'am. Ma'am is a unit head in Sion Hospital, and also she is being my teacher when I was in Sion. And I must say, like there is a lot of efforts put behind allowing all her candidates to be present here, especially when they are all on COVID duty. Thank you, ma'am, for being so enthusiastic about this. And external examiner is Dr. Preetham Saman, sir. As sir does not need any introduction, sir is a president of BOA and also scientific chairman of MOS, and he is a professor in JJ Hospital. So with your permission, sir, Dr. Sanyukta will be presenting first case. Correct, Sanyukta?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will be sharing screen for the same. Sir, screen sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you so much for all the efforts you have taken. And it's pleasure to be here with you all.
Yeah, it is totally Sumit and Swapnesh's effort, madam.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you give a free hand, that's why we can explore these things.
Oh, good, good. And I am happy to see almost 60 participants, so that's very nice.
All right.
So the timeline would be like 20 minutes for the first case, 20 minutes for the second case, and last 20 minutes for the OSCE. And I would be telling you when the sessions are nearing end each time.
Sure. Okay. And we are recording this, right? So they can always access this, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
That's good.
Good. So that's good. So everybody should just concentrate on the whole session. Normally I see students taking notes and all that. So you can always go back and see this particular section again. So just concentrate on what the discussions are going on.
Sanyukta, can you see the slides?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Good evening. My case is a 50-year-old female who came with complaints of diminution of vision in her left eye since 1 week. The diminution of vision was sudden in onset and was not associated with pain. There is no improvement in her vision over a period of 1 week. There is no history of redness of eyes, no history of any ocular trauma, no history of black spots in front of her eyes, and no history of curtain in front of her vision. She has a history of use of glasses for reading since a few years. She is a hypertensive on oral medication on an irregular basis since the last 8 years. Her past family history is not significant, and she is married with 2 children and has no addiction. In general examination, the patient is well built and nourished with a pulse at the rate of 78 per minute, regular in rhythm and volume. Her blood pressure is 150 by 90 millimeters of mercury, and her cardiovascular system, respiratory, and central nervous system are within normal limits. In ocular examination, the patient has normal head posture, no chin elevation, symmetrical facial features, and orthophoric. On further examination, in her right eye, her unaided visual acuity is 6.9 on Snellen's and near vision of N18. Her best corrected visual acuity is 6.6 with a cylindrical lens of minus 0.5 diopters, and her near vision is also N6 with a nearad of plus 2.5 diopters. Her lids and lashes, conjunctiva, cornea, anterior chamber in the right eye are unremarkable. Iris pattern is normal. The pupil is normal size and reactive to light. Lens is clear. Anterior vitreous face is clear. And her intraocular pressure by aptonation tonometry is 20 millimeters of mercury. In the left eye, her unaided visual acuity is 660 on Snellen's with a near vision of N36. Her best corrected visual acuity shows no improvement. The lids and lashes, conjunctiva, cornea are normal. Anterior chamber is deep and quiet. Iris pattern is normal.
So go to posterior segment findings.
Okay, sir. On indirect ophthalmoscopy, in the right eye, the media is clear. The disc appears normal in size, shape, and margins. The macula also appears normal. In the left eye, the media is clear. The disc appears normal in size, shape, and margins. In the superotemporal quadrant, there are multiple flame-shaped hemorrhages and cotton wool spots. And the macula, there seems to be macular edema.
Okay. Yeah.
Diagnosis, please.
Yeah. So what do you think it is?
My diagnosis is right eye within normal limits, and left eye is branch retinal vein occlusion in the superotemporal quadrant with macular edema, most likely of an ischemic cause.
Most likely.
An ischemic cause.
Okay. So why are you calling it branch vein occlusion? Based on what findings?
So based on the indirect ophthalmoscopy finding that the signs of hemorrhages, the cotton wool spots, are confined to one particular quadrant and not in the entire fundus. And also because there are hemorrhages and cotton wool spots that signify that there is some vascular occlusive event that has occurred.
And more importantly, the superotemporal vein is tortuous, right? You can see that part
Yes,
in the upper part of the fundus, the vein.
Yes,
So the
sir.
tortuous venous tortuosity tells you about vein occlusion.
Yes, sir.
What are the types of branch vein occlusions?
So there is
How do you classify them?
so ischemic and non-ischemic.
Any other way you can classify them?
Branch retinal vein, hemiretinal vein occlusion.
Depending on the site, which branch?
Like superior or inferior branch retinal vein occlusion.
Superior, inferior, very good. Okay. Any other
Anything
way?
else? Yeah.
No, so that's
So it can be if it could be a main branch vein occlusion. If it is right next to the disc or it's at the first AV crossing, it is main branch vein occlusion. If it's beyond that, it is peripheral BRVO. Right?
Yes.
And or it could be a macular BRVO, purely a macular BRVO. Right? Okay. Why is BRVO is common in which quadrant?
BRVO is commonest in the superotemporal quadrant.
Why?
So because the number of arteriovenous crossings are maximum in that quadrant, and also because the patients become symptomatic much earlier because that is the zone where the macula is present. So they
It is
present
least-
to you commonly.
Okay. It is least common in which quadrant?
In the inferonasal quadrant.
Excellent. Why?
So least number of AV nickings in that quadrant.
No. So that is not the reason. Why is it least common? Inferonasal.
So the patient would present
No.
late.
So let me answer that so that we save time. So inferonasal, we have the embryonic fissure which closes at the inferonasal quadrant. No. So that's why the mesenchyme is the most weak over there. So the adventitia is the least over there in inferonasal quadrant. That's why it is least common in the inferonasal quadrant. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what will you do now for this patient?
So I would like to investigate this patient further, both systemically and also ocular investigations.
Very good. So what systemic associations are looking for?
So in systemic associations, she already has a risk factor of hypertension, but I would like to look for other systemic diseases. So I would like to do a complete blood count first. Then I would like to do her ESR. I'd like to do her serum lipids and do a hypercoagulability profile, a thrombophilia profile, which is serum homocysteine, then APLA, protein CNS, and then she has a history of OC pills use, so that is ruled out. And then I would like to go for ocular investigation.
So good, so very good. So OC pills, you've taken a history. Which other drugs are known as risk factors for BRV? Besides
So main are OC pills and association with nicotine also. So with smoking also there is a association.
Even diuretics. Diuretics also you have to take history of, right?
Yes.
Okay. And these are the systemic. What are the ocular associations?
So in ocular, since this is a fresh BRVO with active hemorrhages, so doing a FFE at this point, it would not reveal anything because there are hemorrhages. So I would like to go for a OCT to check for any macular edema, any thickening.
No, as to what are the ocular associations?
Listen to
Ocular associations.
Sayukta, listen to the question.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Ocular associations with other vasculitis like Behçet's disease and Wegener's granulomatosis and sarcoidosis.
So yeah. That is one. So vasculitis. What else?
So, what is Virchow's triad? Then you can answer.
Workout triad is responsible for causing thromboembolism. So it has three factors. There is turbulent flow, there is a hypercoagulable state, and
Third thing,
and there is endothelial injury. So there is aggregation of platelets at the site.
Yeah. And one more. The third important thing is pressure on the vessel wall.
Stasis of the blood.
And compression of the vessel wall. So that explains one ocular association of glaucoma, right? Raised IOPs will be an ocular association for BRV.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So what investigation will order here?
So I would like to do a OCT first.
Okay.
To see if there is macular edema present. Because if there is macular edema present, we need to immediately go for a anti-VEGF injection.
Okay.
And then I would wait for the hemorrhages to resolve, because in acute phase of fundus fluorescent angiography cannot reveal any neovascularization or leakages. So usually the acute symptoms resolve in 6 to 12 months. So I'll ask for a close follow-up of the patient every 3 months, and I will wait for the hemorrhages to resolve before doing FFA.
So you'll wait for 6 months, 12 months, or 3
months? No. So I will follow up the patient 3 monthly. So in the first 3 months, if it doesn't resolve, then next 3 months. And
right. So who has given this criteria of first 3 months?
I read it.
You've heard of the BVO study?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That was one of the landmark trials, right?
Yes, sir.
You're doing well in your Viva. That's why we are going on to the higher things of trials and all.
Thank you.
So what was the BVO study all about?
So the BVOS study was done to conduct the understand the efficacy of the argon laser in preventing vitreous hemorrhage and neovascularization in BRVO, and also it was how efficient is it to decrease the macular edema and bring about an increase in visual acuity in BRVO. So it was found that the laser does not prevent the development of neovascularization of vitreous hemorrhage, but it does reduce the progression once there is already established neovascularization.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
So and, it doesn't help to reduce neovascularization, but it helps to reduce
vitreous hemorrhage. Yeah. Yes, sir. And
what is the incidence of neovascularization in BRV?
Yes, sir. So it is 2 to 3% in BRV. Sorry, neovascularization 8%. 8%.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
It can't be 8%. Otherwise, we'll all be out of a job.
No, wait. So 36%.
Yeah. So you're close. So it's about 30%. It's about 28 point something. So 30%. And what is the incidence of vitreous hemorrhage in those cases with NV?
I don't know, sir. Maybe 8%.
No, it's very high. Once you develop neovascularization, almost 60% patients will get vitreous hemorrhage. So that's why it was important that the BVO study showed that if you do sector laser, the chance of vitreous hemorrhage comes down from 60% to almost half. That is 30%. Okay.
Yes.
Another most important query that BVO study answered was about the macular edema.
Macular edema. So it showed that
macular edema. What will you do for macular edema?
So focal laser. Focal laser will be done.
Focal or some other laser?
Yeah.
So grid
laser, no?
Grid macular laser.
Grid laser, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it showed that grid laser did help.
Yes, sir. So it brings about decrease in macular edema both on OCT and also improves the visual acuity.
Absolutely. But there are certain situations where you will not do the grid laser. What are those?
So if there is macular ischemia, we will not do laser because there is no point.
So how will you know there's macular ischemia?
So we'll do an FFA, fundus fluorescent angiography.
Superb. And what will it show?
So it will show.
To tell you there is macular ischemia.
So there will be an increase in the size of the foveal avascular zone.
Superb. What is the normal size?
How many microns?
400 microns.
See, everything, your exam goes like this. Every time you answer a question, you get the next question. And more questions you answer, you get good marks. So you're doing well. So how much is the FAZ?
So around 500 microns. So
okay, approximately 500.
1/3 this diameter size.
Okay. So you spoke about neovascularization elsewhere, no? So what is
Yes,
more
sir.
common in BRVO, NVE or NVD?
So NVE is more common elsewhere.
Why?
So because it's only in one quadrant, so usually with the like
In CRVO, what is more common?
in CRV, NV in the anterior chamber is more common, and
No,
NVD.
NVD or
D.
NVE?
D.
So why in CRVO,
Why?
NVD?
Why? Focal
Also because
dropout areas. Can you tell more about it?
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in BRVO, the area of capillary non-perfusion is usually less than 5 disc diameters, whereas in CRVO it is usually around 10. It's more than 5 disc diameters. So that is why in BRVO, if it's only in that much, so then that is why NVE is more.
So the
Because
release
of
of factors.
the release of VEGF is less in BRVO compared to CRVO. That is why elsewhere is more common.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah, madam, you ask. I've been asking.
I think you have covered everything, Dr. Preetham. Can you
Okay.
speak a little on choroidopathy, hypertensive choroidopathy?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in hypertensive choroidopathy, it's usually along with hypertensive retinopathy, it can be isolated. So there are two main signs that we look for in indirect ophthalmoscopy. That is Segrest streaks and Eschenich spots. Eschenich spots would be foci of hyperpigmentation with a zone of hypopigmentation that indicates lobular choroidal influx. And Segrest streaks would be there would be streaks in the choroid because
What streaks they are? See, the perfusion
hyperemic streaks. Sorry.
Ischemic.
Ischemic.
Necrotic.
In which layer of choroid? What are the layers in choroid?
So there is Brooks membrane. Then there is a Haller's layer, Sattler layer of a small and then a larger capillaries. And then there is choriocapillary.
Yeah. So in which of these layers are the Segrest streaks? It has to be in the choriocapillary layer.
Choriocapillary.
Small, linear there. Linear there, small linear. Right? Okay. I think the time.
Last 3-4 minutes.
Oh.
Last 3-4 minutes.
Okay.
So we still have 3-4 minutes.
We still have.
Okay, so then we'll go. Let's ask. What you have heard of the SCORE study? What is the SCORE study?
Yes, sir. So there was a SCORE 1 study and a SCORE 2 study. The SCORE 1 study was SC stands for standard care of observation. So they compared whether you can just observe a BRVO or you can give an intravitreal triamcinolone injection, which is better. And they found out that giving intravitreal triamcinolone injection is better rather than just observing the patient to treat the macular edema. And then SCORE 2 study was done to compare the efficacy between ranibizumab and aflibercept in BRVO, and they found they both have similar efficacy.
Okay. And what about BRAVO? You heard of BRAVO and CRUISE?
Yes, sir. So BRAVO study was done to find out the efficiency of ranibizumab in macular edema in BRVO, and they found out that it does decrease the macular edema when it is given.
And what about vision improvement?
And it causes vision improvement also of more than 2 lines on Snellen.
And Geneva study? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Geneva study was also done in BRVO to find the effect of intravitreal dexamethasone implant, which was Ozurdex implant, which is 0.7 milligram implant in BRVO on the macular edema. And it also found that it decreases the macular edema and brings about an improvement in the vision acuity.
What are the sequelae of BRVO?
So the sequelae would mainly arise because
you said one thing was vitreous hemorrhage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there is basically neovascularization occurs because of BRVO, and that gives rise to most of the sequelae. So that would cause neovascularization of the iris, neovascularization of the angle, neovascular glaucoma, which is less common than in CRVO.
Which is not so common, no, BRVO.
Yes, only 2 to 3% develop neovascular glaucoma. Then vitreous hemorrhage. So neurosensory retinal detachment because of the edema at the macula.
What type?
Exudative. That is.
Exudative RD? Are you sure?
No.
What type of RD following? Is it rhegmatogenous? What are the types of RD?
Rhegmatogenous RD, then tractional RD, exudative RD.
And one more type?
And combined rhegmatogenous and tractional.
We heard the background.
Sapnesh is keeping a watch. Who's prompting her? So okay. So then, which one is common in BRVO?
So
You have a neovascularization. No? So what is it going to cause? It's going to contract.
the neovascular membrane contract, tractional.
So tractional, right? It's going to cause
yes,
traction, and then
that would develop a rhegma. That would develop a break.
rhegma.
So rhegmatogenous RD.
So rhegma. So a tractional RD going into rhegmatogenous is combined, right?
Yes, sir. Tractional
So
with
BRVO is associated with tractional RD and then combined RD.
Yes.
Then what will you do if it's a combined RD?
So we have to relieve the traction and then we have to seal the break also. So you have to do a vitrectomy to relieve the anterior posterior traction and you have to do a laser or a cryo to seal the break.
Very good. Very good.
The time up.
Very good. Time up. Good. I think we've covered most of the aspects of BRV.
Yes.
I think you've done very well.
Thank you, sir.
Madam, pass ho gaye na? Yeah. With flying colors.
Hopefully. I am happy that she could talk about the various trials.
Oh, good, good. Nice. Nice.
Second.
Let's go next.
Second
case
case.
kya hai?
Second case.
Just a minute.
I have to unmute whom? Sumit, please.
Just a second, sir. It's keratitis. I will just.
No. Whom to unmute? Which participant?
Keratitis, madam, you take.
Monisha.
Keratitis, madam will be in the driver's seat. I will only be observing. I'll be learning.
No. Pritam, you can please chip in.
Monisha, can you see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. A 24-year-old male, Mr. XYZ, a computer engineer by profession, came with complaints of redness and eye pain in right eye since 8 days. He visited an eye doctor for the same 6 days back and was started on eye drops on hourly basis. There was no pain reduction and he started experiencing blurring of vision since 4 days, which gradually deteriorated to present state. There was history of usage of glasses since the age of 6 years and history of contact lens use since 2 years regularly for more than 8 hours a day. Now, occasional history of sleeping without removal of contact lenses. There was history of excessive itching of eyes. There is no history of any trauma or ocular surgery. There is no history of any similar complaints in past. No history of any foreign body entry. There is no past ocular history. Past medical history is not significant. There is no significant family history. The patient is addicted to smoking for about 5 to 6 cigarettes per day. General examination, the patient is well built and nourished. Pulse is 78 beats per minute, regular in rhythm and volume. BP is 130 by 80 millimeters of mercury. CVS, RS and CNS examination all are within normal limits. So the clinical examination of the right eye shows an unaided visual acuity of hand movements close to face. Lids shows presence of edema. Conjunctiva shows presence of circumciliary congestion. Cornea shows presence of a corneal infiltrate, which is about 4 millimeters in size. Then there is also a presence of epithelial defect, which is about 6 millimeters. There is presence of stromal infiltration. There is hypopyon measuring about 2 millimeters with iritis. The pupil, lens, and fundus cannot be seen. So this is the clinical picture, which shows presence of 360-degree circumciliary congestion with.
Yeah, you can talk about left eye. Left eye is normal with only
so the left eye is normal with unaided visual acuity of 6 by 60. The lid shows presence of multiple papillae. The conjunctiva is clear. Cornea is clear. Iris shows presence of normal pattern. Anterior chamber is of normal depth. Pupil is round and reactive to light. Lens is clear. Fundus is within normal limits, and sac syringing is patent.
Fundus of which eye?
Left eye, sir.
Left. So if you can see fundus through that cornea, then you're great. I thought it was left eye is normal. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Left eye.
Yes.
Diagnosis.
So my diagnosis is right eye. Clinically, my diagnosis is right eye. Infectious keratitis, most likely bacterial keratitis on clinical examination with 2 millimeters of hypopyon, secondary to contact lens use. Looks more likely pseudomonal keratitis, which I would like to investigate further. Left eye is within normal limits.
Ma'am, sir, you can go ahead as well.
Yeah, okay. Monisha, tell me, how did you reach to this conclusion of pseudomonas? What are the findings which point towards pseudomonas?
Ma'am, there is history of contact lens use.
Fine, okay. What else? Go on telling.
Yes, ma'am. Secondly, there is aggressive stromal infiltration and suppuration, which can be seen with hypopyon. And I would like to further investigate. Like it's just clinically it appears as pseudomonas, which I'd like to confirm on microbiological examination.
Okay. Which other organism is responsible for contact lens keratitis apart from pseudomonas?
Ma'am, acanthamoeba.
Acanthamoeba. So what are the features of acanthamoeba?
Ma'am, in acanthamoeba,
why this is not acanthamoeba?
Ma'am, in acanthamoeba keratitis, there is radial infiltrates are seen and patient presents with excessive pain due to perineuritis.
Okay, pain is there, excessive. What else?
There are also satellite lesions would be present.
Hypopyon is there always?
Hypopyon is minimal, ma'am. Or maybe absent.
Okay. So this is basically a fulminant keratitis, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what investigations would you like to do to confirm your diagnosis?
Yes, ma'am. Firstly, I'll subject the patient for scraping. So first, under topical anesthesia, preferably proparacaine, after removal of the slough, I'll scrape the cornea gently using either a Kimura spatula or a Bart Parker knife or a 26G needle, and then I'll divide the sample into two parts. The first part is for direct smear examination, and the second part I'll inoculate into culture, mainly blood agar and Chaburite dextrose agar, to rule out if fungus element. And before doing all that, I will stop the drop, ma'am, which the patient was already putting for 1 hour.
But can you specify while taking the smear, scraping, where do you scrape?
I'll scrape from the edges and base of the ulcer.
Why? Why
both? Ma'am, because there are some organisms such as Streptococcus pneumonia which will be present in the edges, and organisms like nocardia would be present at the base of the ulcer.
Moraxella?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so maximum organisms can be seen at the junction where it is enlarging.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how will you manage now? You have diagnosed, you are getting a pseudomonas confirmed. How will you proceed now?
Ma'am, first, since pseudomonas is a gram-negative bacilli, I'll first proceed with a fluoroquinolone, which is moxifloxacin, and I'll start with a loading dose of of a drop for the first 5 minutes, followed by a drop which is every half hourly for 1 hour, followed by 2 hourly for the time when the patient, followed by 1 hourly till the patient is awake, and followed by 2 hourly in the night.
Any other antibiotic?
Along with amikacin.
It's a gram negative. So monotherapy will work in this? Such a fulminant ulcer? You want to save the eye, right?
Yes, ma'am. No, monotherapy won't work.
Exactly. So what else would you like to add?
I'll also add amikacin along with it.
Okay. Okay. And would you like to go for culture report?
Yes, ma'am. I'll wait for culture reports, and depending on the culture report, I can add another drug if needed.
What is the role of fortified antibiotics in this case?
Ma'am, fortified antibiotics, it will, ma'am, hello.
Would you like to give fortified antibiotics? This is gram
Yes,
negative,
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. What antibiotics you would like to give in this case? If a choice is
Ma'am,
given,
I can give 5% cefazolin if
5% cefazolin. How do you prepare cefazolin drops? Right, you can
ma'am,
cefazolin,
in a 500
but
in a
that is not
500
fortified.
milli
Let me correct you. Fortified is means the eye drops are there and you add to it.
add to it.
That
Yes,
is
ma'am.
fortified. Cefazolin is reconstituted. So can you tell me more about it?
Reconstitute.
Right. So that those are not fortified, huh?
Ma'am, in a 500 milligram vial of cefazolin, I'll add 10 ml of normal saline to make it 5%
So it is 50 milligram per ml. That is the
per
dose,
ml.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, right.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you are treating, would you only like to treat with antibiotics or would you like to add something else? Patient is
Yes,
having
ma'am.
pain.
I'll add a cycloplegic, mainly atropine, to suppress the pain. And I'll also measure the IOP. If there is any raise in
One sec,
IOP, I'll also.
one sec. Let me stop you. Cycloplegic, how does it help? Only for pain?
Ma'am, it also prevents Seneca formation.
Hmm.
Uh,
So what cycloplegic is preferred here?
Atropine is preferred.
Okay. And then next?
And then if I'll also measure the IOP first, and to prevent secondary glaucoma, I'll also add topical anti-glaucoma drug.
Acha. What are the features of non-healing corneal ulcer?
Ma'am, in cases of non-healing corneal ulcer, there will be progressive epithelial defect. There will be increasing stromal infiltrate. There will be progressive thinning of the cornea. There might be decimetocele formation.
What about vascularization?
There will be increased cornea. Ma'am, in progressive corneal ulcer, there will be decreased vascularization.
Right, there is non-healing, okay.
Non-healing.
And what are the causes of non-healing corneal ulcer or keratitis?
Ma'am, progressive trauma to the eye, like progressive microtrauma to the epithelium would be one cause. Then second, non-compliance
Start
of
with
the
common
patient.
things. Start with common things.
Yes, ma'am. Non-compliance of the patient. Second, improper installation of drops. Third, the organism is fulminant.
Right. What
Fourth,
else?
there is repetitive trauma to the epithelium
By what? Why should it occur?
by contact lens or.
No, we are treating an ulcer now.
Hmm.
Can it be more than one organism?
Yes, ma'am. There polyinfection. There may multiple infection in one.
Anything else?
Dacrocystitis.
Anything else? You were talking about pressures, right?
Yes, ma'am. Due to secondary glaucoma.
Okay, increased pressures can affect healing.
Yes,
Okay. And what about the organism? If it is not a polyinfection, it is only one organism, yet it is not healing.
Resistance to the drug.
That is also important. So it can be a resistant organ. Okay. I will ask you two questions. Now, suppose you have tried everything and it's not healing. Suppose there is impending perforation. What will you do?
Ma'am, if there is an impending perforation, first I'll start with pressure lowering drugs. Secondly, I can go for I'll first see what is the size of the perforation. If it's 2 millimeters, if it's less than 2 millimeters, then I
No,
can go for a.
I have said impending perforation first, and then we'll talk about perforation, right? So impending.
So, ma'am, first I'll
One is
reduce the.
pressure,
Yes, ma'am,
correct?
reduce this. Second, I could go for a multi-layered AMG graft or glued
Okay.
BCL.
When? when will you put a glue?
If there
Which
is
glue?
perforation, cyanoacrylate glue with BC.
Okay. How will you identify impending perforation? What makes you say, yeah, this might perforate? What do you see clinically?
There is extensive thinning. There is desmetoscele formation.
Right, right. Okay. So if there is desmetoscele, so what instructions will you give to the patient?
Patient should not strain.
That is very important. And then would you like to apply glue now to strengthen?
No, ma'am.
Why?
Ma'am, in desmetoscele, all the descemex membrane is strong enough to.
But it can perforate anytime. Especially in fulminant, we are talking about fulminant cases. Okay. Suppose you tried everything and it perforated. So what are the various ways you tackle the perforation depending on the size?
Ma'am, depending on the size, if it's less than 2 millimeter perforation, we can go for a cyanoacrylate glue and BCL. Secondly, if we can go for a multi-layered amniotic membrane graft, we can go for a Gunderson conjunctival flap, and if cornea is available, we can go for a therapeutic K-plasty, keratoplasty.
No. But you explain to me when a Gunderson's flap is used. You tell when is the amniotic membrane used? Can you tell? You have told me the modalities, but indications of each one. I told you depending on the size. I gave you a clue. Suppose
Yes,
the ulcer is peripheral, then?
If the ulcer is peripheral, then we can go for amniotic membrane or. Sorry, if the ulcer is involving the limbus, we'll go for a keratoplasty.
If it's a small ulcer near the limbus, what will work? Which flap?
Ma'am, Gunderson flap would work.
Right. Okay. And what are the chances of success of keratoplasty in such cases?
Ma'am, the chances of keratoplasty is very less in such cases. There is a chance of failure of graft.
So what precautions would you like to take when you are doing a keratoplasty in such a case? So you have a better result?
Ma'am, while trephining, we also trephine 1 mm of the healthy tissue as well. Then we go for interrupted sutures so that if at all, if there is any infiltrate or anything, we can remove the suture. Thirdly, we'll go for aggressive medication post-operatively.
And role of steroids?
Ma'am, steroids can be given in bacterial ulcer after 48 hours or even after keratoplasty is done in cases of bacterial ulcer, but should be avoided in fungal ulcers.
But under the cover of?
Antibiotics.
Aggressive antibiotics.
Yes.
Okay. How much time left?
3-4 minutes, madam.
Okay. Dr. Preetham sir, would you like to ask anything?
Yeah, you check for the corneal sensation.
Yes, sir.
They were decreased or increased? What do you think?
Sir, decreased.
Decreased. So which are the keratitis in which it is decreased?
Sir, in neurotrophic keratitis, it is decreased.
And?
But in bacterial ulcers, the corneal sensations are not affected.
In herpes?
Sir, in herpes, it is decreased.
Acanthamoeba?
Sir, acanthamoeba, it's present because it's not decreased. Yes.
Okay. Why do contact lens wearers, chronic contact lens wearers, do they present early or they present late?
So they present late, depending on.
Why do they present late?
So because initially
Naina madam and Sumit, please correct me if I'm asking questions from my limited knowledge. Yeah, why do they present late?
So there is tear film disturbance in cases of corneal ulcers. Plus, especially in pseudomonas, they have a tendency to form biofilms.
Yeah,
so that is common in.
Yeah, and in chronic contact lens wearers, there is anyway neurotrophic changes in the cornea. So there is hypoesthesiometric changes in the cornea. So that's why usually you see contact lens wearers presenting pretty have you sent the contact lens solution for microbiology? Will you send that Is it,
Yes, sir.
is it
I'll
necessary?
also ask the patient to bring the case as well as the solution for
Right.
micro.
That is important. Correct.
Yes.
So
One
you
more
have to
thing.
remember.
Yeah, the patient gives history of itching. Was the patient on steroids by any chance? I think it's not mentioned.
Ma'am, there is a history of putting drops 1 hourly, and after which the symptoms worsened. So there is a possibility that the drop might be a steroid.
Okay.
Is there a role of is there any specific role of systemic antibiotics?
Indications of systemic
Indications
antibiotics
of systemic antibiotics in these cases?
in
If there is
corneal.
if there is involvement of sclera,
Yes. Or
or
yeah,
if the
sclera or
ulcer,
limbal
if the ulcer
involvement.
progresses to involve the limbus.
Yeah. Right.
And perforation.
Yes, ma'am, in perforation.
Yes.
Would you like to
Perforation.
give?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. To prevent endophthalmitis, we give it.
So have you done? How will you know this patient has endophthalmitis?
Yeah. How will you know the patient has end of associated end of also? What
Ma'am,
would you like to?
I would like to do a B scan to confirm.
Very good. What it will show?
So there'll be membranes. I'll also go for aqueous tap or vitreous tap.
No, first B scan. No? So what is B scan?
Findings on B scan.
So I'm
Ma'am, there'll
I'm sorry, मेरा सब question घूम फिरा के posterior segment में आ जाता है. But since I've asked you now, you tell me.
ma'am, there'll be. Ma'am, I'll go for a gentle B scan.
Right.
So what will it show? What will
It
it
will
show
show
to tell you
dense.
that?
It will show dense vitreous echos and bands would be present.
And anything else? Correct. You're right. Besides that,
There'll be thickening of the choroid.
excellent. And
Classic sign on B scan.
okay, let them read now. We should not spoon feed everything.
Sir, I'm showing.
You regularly do B scan, no, Monisha?
Yes.
Okay.
So you will see all the signs of endo, no? Like exudative RD. If it's pan-off, there will be a T sign, choroidal thickening. So, right? Good. Done? Or kuch hai, madam?
No, I think we are almost done.
There was one specific question here that on the chat. So, could you clarify why NV is more common in BRVO and NVD in CRVO? So I just answer that question. The reason being that in central retinal vein occlusion is such a pan-retinal event that to develop neovascularization, you need some viable retinal capillaries or vasculature, which is not left at all in cases of CRVO. So what is just, it is only a peripapillary and optic nerve head vasculature which is still remaining viable. That's why NVD is more common in CRVO. Whereas in BRVO, you still have some amount of perfused retina remaining. And that's why you get what is neovascularization elsewhere. So that's why NV is more common in BRVO and NVD is more common in CRVO. In fact, in BRVO, if you look at the NVE, it's typically at the margin of a ischemic segment of retina versus a perfused segment of retina. I'll just share one screen with you because when this question came up, I opened a PowerPoint. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now if you see here, and can you see my cursor moving?
Yeah.
Now, if you see these are new vessels. Can you see them? Now, typically this portion is perfused, whereas you can see this portion is capillary is non-perfused. So you have these kind of new vessels developing because only the viable retinal vessels will develop new vessels, right? Look at another picture. No, I think. Sorry, my PowerPoint has frozen.
Okay. One last question, Monisha.
Yeah.
So this patient had hypopion. In what conditions you get hemorrhagic hypopion? Which keratitis you can see blood cells? Any viral? Hemorrhagic hypopion.
Ma'am, in herpes.
Which? You are right. But which? There are two herpes. Simplex or zoster?
Ma'am, zoster.
Simplex you get.
Simplex.
And pneumococcal. Pneumococcal. Okay. I think.
We'll start with the OSCEs.
Okay. Sir, we'll
Yes,
have to
yes.
unmute Abhilash and Kalpana. Dr. Abhilash and Dr. Kalpana from Science, can you just start your video so we can easily unmute you? So the order will be Abhilasha, Monisha, Sayukta, Kalpana, again Abhilasha. So it will be a rotation.
ऑस्की में हमें कुछ नहीं करना है ना सुमित सर?
नहीं सर, अगर आपको लगे कि इसमें कुछ ऐड करना है और something to be asked more, then you can of course do that, sir, or explain anything.
Abhilasha, please unmute your mic. सुमित एक मिनट.
हाँ.
Abhilasha is unable to unmute her mic. Yeah. Okay.
There's a button below, Abhilasha.
Ma'am, I did.
Yeah,
Hello?
we can hear you. We can hear you. Abhilasha, we can hear you.
Okay, ma'am.
Kalpana?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Can you see the slides? So we'll start with Abhilasha. Abhilasha, ready?
Yes, sir.
Sumit, okay. Start.
Yes.
No problem.
So time for each OSCE is 2 minutes. Okay. There are two questions, each question 5 marks. Thank you to all of them who helped us creating all these OSCEs. We'll start with this. A 26-year-old male present with the history of 3 surgeries in his eye, history of 2 failed corneal grafts, and the third surgery is what you can see in the picture. Spot diagnosis, what is this?
K-Pro keratoprosthetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Name any 3 keratoprosthesis types you know.
Boston keratoprosthesis.
Okay, 1.
Then
Osteodonto keratoprosthesis.
osteodonto.
Okay.
And
2 major institutes in the India. They create their own K-Pros. One is in Hyderabad.
Rajendra.
No.
Think an answer, Abhilasha. 2 you have already told. Third one.
LV Prasad.
Okay. LVP K-Pro and Oro K-Pro. She answered well, sir. We can give her marks, full marks.
Yes, sir. Pritam, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Next is Monisha. Monisha, ready?
Sorry, what happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Monisha, this is a question for you. A 35-year-old male with the -8 diopter of refractive error presents with the frequent change of the glasses. You happen to examine him on the slit lamp and he has used these 3 findings, A, B, and C. So kindly identify the lesions seen on the slit lamp in image A and image B. This is A and B. Monisha will answer only.
Yes, sir.
Monisha?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, please answer.
What do you see in A? What type of illumination?
Ma'am, it's a transillumination defect
Huh?
of the iris.
Okay. And B?
Go ahead.
And
B, what you can see? The arrow, look at the arrow.
yes, sir.
What is that bundle?
It's Krukenberg spindle.
Okay.
Okay.
Diagnosis,
ma'am.
second question.
And third is there is pigmentation on the trabecular meshwork. Zentmeyer slime.
Diagnosis?
Sir, it's pigmentary glaucoma.
Pigment dispersion glaucoma. Middle-aged male myopia. Correct.
Yes, sir.
Next is Sanyukta. You are ready, Sanyukta?
Yes.
So, a 21-year-old male was under treatment for fever and developed the following lesion, which is shown in the picture, with the loss of vision in both eyes. What is the probable diagnosis that you can see here?
Scarlet skin syndrome.
Sorry?
Scarlet skin syndrome.
Your voice is echoing, Sayukta.
Sorry, can you?
Sitting together.
What is there in first pick? What skin lesion?
Toxic epidermal necrolysis. That is the diagnosis. Type of hypersensitivity, type 4.
Any other differential you would like to give other than 10?
Scarlet skin syndrome.
Common things.
You've undergone a treatment.
For fever.
You see so many patients. Daily you see so many patients, Sayukta.
Stevens-Johnson syndrome. That is a milder version of 10.
So more likely we had planned this for the Steven Johnson just because the mucosal involvement is more common, especially the ocular mucosa. So you can of course do differential without knowing much because there is of course overlap between the SJs and the 10. So both are accepted diagnosis and it's the type 4 hypersensitivity reaction. So answer correct, ma'am. To give her full marks.
Preetham sir? Yes, I think so.
I'm very lenient. I give everybody full marks.
Okay.
Don't ask me.
No, part B she has told
Don't ask
correctly.
me, otherwise they'll think they are doing very well. Sapnesh is strict.
So
Sapnesh
part A is probable, so we can always have differentials. And B she has answered correctly.
So full marks.
So Sumit sir, yeah, you can decide.
Kalpana, you're ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is your question. See it carefully. Okay. This is a 50-year-old male patient presents with the diminution of vision more at a night than day on examination. You see two fundus pictures. The first picture here, it is when patient was young in presentation. It was like at the age of 19 taken. And the next picture of the same patient is taken at the age of the 45. Okay. Same patient,
Okay,
same
sir.
fundus taken at the different ages. Okay. So diagnosis and the genetic inheritance. You can give anything, whatever comes to
Okay.
you.
Diminution of vision at night.
So,
What do you see in the fundus
ma'am,
near the equator?
pigmentation and
Anyone else would like to take? Abhilasha, you want to take or?
Vessels,
ma'am, there is a bony specule
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
and diagnosis could be retinitis pigmentosa
Okay.
Okay. What else?
and ma'am,
What are the
DD.
differential diagnosis of for pigmentation?
DD.
What is
Ma'am, it could be Leber's congenital.
Will it present at this age? 50-year-old?
no. Look at the fundus. There's nothing in the disc.
Yes, ma'am.
So pigmentation in fundus. What are the differential diagnosis, Kalpana?
Ma'am, retinitis pigmentosa.
Yeah,
ma'am.
that is one differential.
Leber's congenital.
Abhilasha, would you like to overtake?
No,
Time
no,
up.
anything. Okay.
So this is a classical picture taken from your textbook only. It's Yonov, okay? And basically this is planned for choroideremia, where you see the RP atrophy total. And differential diagnosis, of course, you can give albinism, choroidal atrophy,
Right side.
RP, and choroideremia. So
Differential would be gyrate atrophy.
yeah, and gyrate atrophy.
And so why it is not a RP? There is some audio.
Pigmentation.
It's because the disc is not waxy disc.
Waxy pelvis.
Okay. Sumit, next question.
And
No,
genetic
Mark.
is X-linked, na?
X-link, X-link.
X-link. Marks, please. He did not answer.
Marks कितना? How much? कितना total highest marks क्या है ये slide?
10 marks.
10
10 marks.
हाँ,
तो ठीक है, तो 6 out of 10.
okay. Next is
For attempting.
Abhilash, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
So this is your question. What is the cause of high tide watermarks in retina and signs of long-standing RD?
Long-standing RD, there will be retinal cyst.
Keep talking.
Can you answer the first part? Cause of high water marks. What are those saying? Why do you get those levels?
Because of fluid,
Mhm.
subretinal
Yes.
fluid
Mhm.
level. Like
Okay. So what are the other signs of long-standing retina? What happens to the retina? Long-standing.
retina,
Yes.
pale and intraretinal cyst develops, and
Atrophy.
atrophy. Membrane become undulate.
In the photo, there is one more sign below the watermarks.
Yeah. At 9 o'clock, can you see?
There are 4 signs of long-standing RD, 4 cardinal signs. What are they?
What is there below the retina?
One, so we have told you this high tide watermarks. What are the other 3? One you
What
said
is-
retinal cyst. What are the other 2? You need to answer 2 more.
What is below the
To
retina?
get 10 out of 10.
9 o'clock position in the collage. What are those lines you see radially below the retina? What happens in old inflammation or old thing? What happens?
Fibrosis,
So what is it? Abhilasha.
fibrous traction, fibrovascular.
There is a theater in which you go for cinemas. Starts with P.
Which one यार मेरे को भी जाना पड़ेगा.
That's what
Which?
I think time up.
And
And 3 vitreous substitutes. Hurry up.
But first, what is the cause of high tide watermark? What is the cause?
long-standing subretinal fluid level.
Yeah, but why does it cause? Why does it cause a demarcation line or a? What is the reason?
There is an elevation up to that level. Because
So
of that fluid.
correct. So there's an elevation, and gravity does not allow the fluid to go beyond that.
Yes.
Then what happens? What happens at the junction of the retina which is detached and the retina which is attached?
Pigmentation starts there.
Yes. So pigmentation happens because of you people don't want to know all these things, why this happens. You should be inquisitive. Yeah, you should be googling all these things to know yourself, no? Okay, what is the next? Name 3 vitreous substitutes.
C3F8 gas, SF6, and
Anything else?
silicone oil.
Okay.
CF, silicone oil.
So how many marks?
आप मुझे पूछ रहे हैं?
Yeah.
She answered no everything except for that first question, which is homework. They have to find out on their own.
Yes, sir.
8 out of 10.
High water marks she did say. And science, she could not tell all the signs. Okay, 8 out of 10, fine.
Next is Monisha again. Monisha, you ready?
So
Yes,
the four signs of long-standing RD essentially is demarcation line, retinal cyst, subretinal glabs, and thin atrophic retina. These four you should remember.
Yes.
So Monisha, ready?
yes, sir.
Okay. 60-year-old diabetic patient since 15 years presents with the retinal finding like this. Diagnose this condition, please, and mention about DVA study.
Sir, these are fibrovascular traction bands which are found.
Something here.
What else is there?
There is neovascularization
So
elsewhere.
diagnosis.
Sir, it is proliferative retinopathy. Diabetic retinopathy.
Diabetic.
Okay.
Why you omitted that word?
Okay.
This is advanced diabetic eye disease.
Talk about DVS, please.
Sir, DVS is the diabetic vitrectomy study, which shows the study is that whether if you do vitrectomy early or late, whether it prevents vitreous hemorrhage or not. So it has shown that vitreous hemorrhage resolves if there is early intervention.
There's lots of echo.
They are all sitting together, ma'am. I told them.
Are you in the same room?
No, ma'am.
Part B, Monisha.
Ma'am, the drugs are ranibizumab, bevacizumab, aflibercept.
Okay.
Ma'am, marks?
I think she's answered. Dr.
You answered
Preetham.
all 9 out of 10.
Sir, 10 out of 10.
Okay, cool.
Okay, sir.
Next is
Okay.
Sanyukta again. Sanyukta, you there?
Yes.
This is for you. A 45-year-old female presents with the following OCT finding. Describe the image and diagnose the condition.
So I can see a hyper intense membrane which has distorted the foveal contour. So it is a ERM that has created vitreomacular traction.
And what is below it?
The management plan would like to do a ERM peeling to relieve the traction.
Preetham, sir.
Where is the ERM? I would say it's a thickened hyaloid.
Is it a VMT or?
Tortuosidal hyaloid.
What you can see, the thin line is the hyaloid, right, which is attached there at the fovea.
Yes.
That has caused the vitreomacular traction, which has led to a lamellar hole and probably going into a full thickness hole.
Yeah.
So management plan, you said right. What did you say management plan?
That is ERM peeling to relieve the traction.
Yeah, but now there's already a
And
macular hole. There's already a macular hole formed there. No?
Yes, sir. So we can do inverted island peeling to give scaffold.
Tell all the procedures, all the steps of surgery. Means.
So we would like to relieve the traction by doing ERM peeling and vitrectomy. And because there is already macular hole, so we would like to do inverted island peel.
Okay. Okay, good.
Marks, sir.
Okay.
So I think she was very confused with the vitreomacular thing. So we'll give her 8 out of 10.
Okay.
For the A part.
Yeah.
So essentially it's a vitreomacular traction.
VMT, yeah, it's
VMT. And it is caused more like an outer lamellar hole. So in fact, in this
incomplete.
case, yeah, incomplete.
It's incomplete.
So in fact, you may not even require probably a tamponade. What you can do is you can do a foveal sparing vitrectomy. So you don't touch that that lid or cap which you have over there, and do vitrectomy. In fact, you keep that small piece of tissue which is there over the macula. So you will not even need to do ILM feeling. That itself will plug the macula and you can put gas.
Self-harm.
Okay.
Okay, so 8 marks. Question 7.
Kalpana, ready?
Yes, sir.
For you. A 10-year-old child presents with the proptosis, optic atrophy, and strabismus. There is a scan shown here. Can you please diagnose what is the lesion shown? Young child with the proptosis and optic atrophy with the orbital mass, retrobulbar. It's a systemic disease associated.
What is that mass? What is that tumor?
Ma'am, it would be muscle
There is important structure in the
optic.
retrobulbar. Yeah.
Sir, it's optic nerve.
Yes.
Yes.
Optic nerve what?
Optic nerve. Glioma.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is
Okay.
seen in what systemic disease, and what will be the other findings that you would like to see in this patient, both ophthalmic and systemic?
Any syndrome? Any syndrome?
No, ma'am. I would like to
Well,
pass.
pass. Okay. So
Next
next.
is Abhilasha. Abhilasha?
No, sir, pass.
Syndromic pie.
Yes, who's the next?
Monisha?
Ma'am,
Sanyukta?
there is fusiform dilatation of, there is fusiform swelling of the optic nerve, which could be optic nerve glioma.
Okay.
The second part.
It is found in neurofibromatosis 1.
Tell the systemic and ophthalmic findings you see. What do you see on slit lamp in such a patient?
Ma'am, on slit lamp, I would see leash nodules, systemically axillary and inguinal freckling, and sphenoid wing dysplasia on MRI.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That answers. So she answered the one question. Second, she could not. 5 marks, ma'am?
5 marks to whom? But 2 people answered.
Yeah, that is what.
No, the one whom we answered asked supposed to answer. If the others answer, they are not eligible for marks. So what Kalpana answered is
But,
only one part.
But last mock exam, even if the question was passed, it was marked.
That was the examiner's decision.
This is what my students told me. Okay,
Yeah.
they pointed out to me this.
Yeah. So we can give full.
For the A, she answered A. No? B, she was not able to.
Yeah. So 8 marks. So we'll cut marks for passing.
Fine.
8 marks we'll give, not full.
Okay. Abhilasha again. Abhilasha, ready?
Yes, sir.
A 55-year-old male presents with the blurring of vision in both eyes. Left, it's right more than left. Okay. And there is a headache also. If you see the perimetry, this is of the left eye and this is of the right eye here. Okay. Can you please name the field effect which involves both the eyes?
Sir, left side is superior quadranopia.
You combine both the things and then answer.
How many quadrants in the right side?
1 quadrant.
So vertical, what it is, what it can be.
Right is also involved and left is also involved.
So one is the pi in the
Pi. This is pi in the sky, that is superior quadranopia. And for that, the lesion will be temporal lobe.
Anyone else? After Abhilasha, there is Monisha. You want to try?
Sir, right eye is superior quadrantopia. And
look properly. Which is the right and which is the left?
This is left here.
Sorry, left is superior quadrantopia, and right is total field defect.
So
Almost.
just in interest of time, I will give away the answer. It's a junctional scotoma, okay? That happens in this way, and there is a right optic nerve and the junction of optic chiasma. When both are affected, this kind of a lesion can produce junctional scotoma like this. Okay, anyway, this was not very easy one, so no problem.
Yes.
Last is Monisha.
Markings.
Markings, ma'am.
For question 9. Pritam sir.
अरे मेरे को क्यों पूछ रहे हैं? मैडम बताएंगे.
They answered partly only. They couldn't tell the complete diagnosis. They attempted, but it was tough.
So 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay. Last, Monisha, this is for you. Identify the instrument shown in the picture.
Sir, the instrument is a synaptophore.
And uses of any two uses of synaptophore.
To measure the deviation, and second is for stereopsis.
Correct.
Okay.
That
So 10.
is the OSCE.
Okay.
Good. Well done.
Yeah, I think we are through.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So the totaling of OSCE
84.
84.
Well done.
Good. Well done.
Thank you everybody for joining in, and thank you Pritam sir for chipping in.
Thank you.
And one last thing I want to show to all the participants. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So all of you can refer this textbook, which holds true even now. I have used this in 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
So you can go. You will get it only at Balani stores, nowhere else. Am I right, Pritam sir?
Yeah.
Correct.
It covers even the instruments.
Yes.
There is an interesting history for this book.
Yeah.
In internship, we felt our pay was too less. We needed additional pocket money. That is why we wrote this book. This is a trade secret. Don't tell anyone.
And we would like to know who is Satyan Mohan Nabar.
So Satyan Nabar was my batchmate from KEM undergrad, and he's himself an orthopedic surgeon.
Oh, acha.
Okay.
Great.
But this was popular even in undergraduates, huh? Let me tell you. When I was in Nair as lecturer, students would read this.
Yes. Madam, I only read and gave exam. And you were only taking the exam at Nair.
Shabash.
So thank you everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, organizers. Thank you, Pritam sir, for your
and thank you for taking out time through your COVID duty and this being.
It's a hats off to all the residents who are doing COVID duties. Be safe.
And that too in ICU. Imagine, ophthalmologist posted in ICU. Kalpana has to go back for night duty. Okay. Anyway, I'm happy they participated. It was a real struggle to arrange for locums. But I'm glad. Thank you for the opportunity. It was very well conducted. Thank you so much, all the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.